Hey y'all, I'm Vanessa. Welcome to my channel and to my living room. Overlook my white chest. It is winter. I cannot help it, you guys. My hands are super white too. I don't know, but like if you look at my shoulders, they're much darker, so don't judge me. Anyway, today we're doing a review comparison, well, several reviews to be exact, but comparisons. We are doing a complete drugstore showdown of concealers. We have the e.l.f. 16-hour camo concealer, Milani Conceal and Perfect long wear concealer, and the infallible full wear. It actually doesn't, oh, it says more than concealer. More than concealer. So we get into everything from prices to shade range to wear, all of it. We go full in depth. I had someone ask me to do this video. So I had already done full reviews on these two, but I hadn't spoken about the Milani. And I got it a couple of weeks ago and have been trying it out. So I totally get a lot of people aren't going to buy all three. So if you guys want to see which one I recommend, then let's go ahead and get into it. So we are first going to go in with application. I'm going to use my Eco Tools sponge, and then I have full reviews on both of these, the L'Oreal and the e.l.f. But since the L'Oreal and the Milani are closer in color, that's what I'm going to use on my under eyes. And then probably to lighten it up, I'll go in with the e.l.f. But we're going to go in with the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear. This is in the shade 365. These are both a little dark for me for my under eyes, so we're gonna make them work regardless. I'm gonna just put very little here, just not too much. And then after application, we'll get into all the details because I have a lot to say. Once you start comparing things, it can get kind of crazy. All right, so now we're going in with the Milani over here, and this is in the shade 135. Let's blend these out so you guys can see exactly what they look like blended out and not using too much like I did with the e.l.f. concealer in that review. I'm actually going to grab a different sponge. I'm going to grab this guy so we are not contaminating the other side. So here is what the Milani side is looking like. They both blend out super easy, super fast, like no big deal at all. On the under eyes, they actually don't look too bad. I'm kind of shocked that it did brighten it up a little bit. So let me tell you exactly what I see. So I actually think, which is kind of surprising, let me scoot in here. The L'Oreal side, it accentuates my pores a little bit as opposed to the Milani side. But getting into detail, I know why that is. The Milani side is incredibly matte. Once it dries down, it is even more matte than either of the other two. Like the e.l.f. is super matte. No, I wouldn't say super matte. I would say e.l.f. is matte, but the Milani is super matte. Like super matte. Like you would not have to set this unless you wanted to just really make sure it stayed in place. Because seriously, it is matte. But I really like the look of both. I think coverage-wise, L'Oreal gives it just a bit more coverage than the Milani side. But I really like the Milani side with this look where I don't have much going on today. I have a really simple 2-shadow eye look and I don't really have too much on my face. I just have Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue with a little bit of the Pacifica Alight foundation over top of it. and I did a little bit of cream bronzing, and that's it. I don't have anything else on. My brows, of course, but my face doesn't really have much on it. And where this one, I don't know, I really, because I've used all of these multiple times and I have not loved the Milani concealer, but normally I do pretty full coverage, and that's why I haven't really loved it. The Milani doesn't pack as much of a punch to me, but with this, I actually prefer the Milani side over the L'Oreal side. Honestly, it's crazy. So let's get into some details here. Okay, so L'Oreal is $13 with 25 colors. So you should be able to find a shade for you. Like, that's really, really good, 25 colors. e.l.f. is $5 and it has 18 shades. Milani is $9 and it has 18. So let's talk about this. All right. We have Milani here, L'Oreal here, and e.l.f. here. These are dry, swatch dry, they're dry now, and then I blended them out here, and then we're gonna put these on wet so we can talk about the dry down. Milani, L'Oreal, e.l.f. You can blatantly see this, from this to this. This to this, this to this. The dry down is very, very different on all of these. From first apply to dry down, they all get darker. One thing I will say is I think the Milani actually does oxidize a bit. It turns a bit more orange. Look at this here. Like it just looks kind of peachy, but then it kind of turns orange. So there's a difference in oxidizing and a darker dry down. Think of paint. When you paint something, when it's wet, it looks a little lighter. When it dries, it looks a little bit darker. Oxidizing means that when it hits air or oxygen, that it can kind of turn orange on you. So it's not the same thing. A lot of concealers and foundations do dry down a little bit darker. There's not many that are completely true to shade, but Milani especially, which is right here, look at this middle row. Milani is crazy matte. I mean matte. Even on my under eye, it's not tacky at all. L'Oreal has a little bit more, that's the one in the middle, it has a little bit more of a satin finish, to where I think it looks a little bit better, because if you want to set the under eye, I think you can do that. With the Milani, if I set it with just even a little bit of powder, it can start to really, really look heavy on my under eyes, and I'm not a fan of that. That's why I did not set these. And then e.l.f., it does dry down darker than any of the other two. Like I said, they all dry down darker, but it's the most drastic. But for me, I don't mind that too much. On the face, it doesn't look as prominent as this. And I like a highlighted under eye, so when e.l.f. kind of dries down, it's pretty well perfect for me right now. Now, packaging. We're going all in depth here, people. The Milani is a flat doe foot. It's still wanting to find my face. Sorry, guys. It is flat. It's like the Urban Decay All-Nighter. It's just not as flexible. And then both e.l.f. and L'Oreal have the big, big doe foots. Alright, here is e.l.f. and here is L'Oreal. I believe that the L'Oreal one's a little bit longer and e.l.f. is a little bit fatter. But the one thing that I do not like about the e.l.f. concealer is the packaging. Watch when I undo this and pull this out. It's fine. There's a little bit at the tip there, like right at the base of the doe foot, but it's not too bad. So it's not too bad or too messy. Now the e.l.f. concealer, when you pull this guy out of here, there is an absolute ton on the bottom here. An absolute ton. And sometimes if you pull it out just a little bit too fast, it will fling everywhere. I've got it on my pants. I have it on my shirt right now. Wonderful. So I hate the packaging, but for $5, I absolutely love this formula. If you add too much of this, it will crease worse in your under eye lines if you have fine lines, and most of us do. It's fine, but it will crease worse. So I'm going to go from my least favorite to my favorite. My least favorite is the Milani. This one's priced right in the middle, but it's just a little bit too matte for me. If you want something super matte, I think you will enjoy this. The coverage, I would say, is high medium coverage. I'd say if I added a little bit more, it would be full, but you guys seen I didn't use too much. But I'm just not a huge fan of this formula. And then I would go L'Oreal. This one's the most expensive, but it has a really big shade range. And this one I would say is high medium, low full, depending on how much you put, but it's got more of that pretty kind of, it's in the middle, the satin finish there. And if you want to set it, you can without it looking cakey. Unlike the Milani, if you set that, and I have normal under eyes, and it looks cakey, period. Now, if you have dry under eyes, Milani's not for you. But this one is good. I like the formula, and I mean, I like this one, but I like the e.l.f. better. This one is full coverage, period. Even just putting a little bit, it is full coverage. Like I said, I hate the packaging, but I can get over that because it's $5, 18 shades, and honestly, the formula is just so good. Don't overuse it. Like I said, I have reviews on both of these, and I put way too much on, but it was fine. It still looked good. But I like just putting a little bit. Let me add a little bit of this over top of these guys. So then you guys can see just in this video how this looks. So I normally use just a couple of dots, and that's it. If I want to go really super high full coverage, I'll add more. But I'm telling you, this is beautiful. It covers absolutely everything, but just don't put too much right in your eye creases because it will accentuate those. And you'll see, like on the face, it does not look like it is darkening too much. It still really brightens up my under eyes, and I love it. Like, all my darkness is gone. It's super bright and beautiful, and I know that these I could easily get a lighter shade, and I did get a lighter shade in the L'Oreal. This one's $365. I got $360. They are very different. They're probably a good 3 to 4 shades apart, and for me, for going one shade difference there, it was weird, but I didn't like it near as much as this one. But I like them all. This one I have not been using much. I was only using it to try out, but otherwise I wouldn't keep reaching for it. I'd grab one of these, or if I want a lighter, kind of more skin-like finish, I would go with the Urban Decay. Oh, sorry guys, sorry I had an itch. I would go with the Urban Decay Naked Skin. It just looks really beautiful. Kind of the same coverage, but it's not so overly drying matte. One other thing that I want to talk about is lasting power. They all last really nicely on me, whether I set them or if I don't. But the Milani, like, I'm gonna swipe here so you guys can see, and I'm pushing pretty dang hard. Like, let me see if I can do this on camera to where I'm rubbing here. They all last, but right here is the Milani one. You can see it kind of stains the skin. Like, it's really hard for me to get it off sometimes, even off of my face. So if you want something that it is going to absolutely stick to your under eyes, but it's going to be super matte, but it's probably going to last you all day plus some. Like, I could go grab an oil remover and it is still going to be really hard for me to get this off. So like I said, if you want something that is super matte, but if you powder it, it's going to look a little bit heavy. But this could definitely be for you because the lasting power is absurd with the Milani. But for me, I don't have an issue with things breaking up or coming off with either one of the other two. And I far prefer these. Definitely would go with the e.l.f. before any of them, but even the L'Oreal is a good pick. So I hope you guys enjoy this super in-depth review and comparison in our drugstore showdown of concealers. So if you did, I hope you guys subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.